Fortune favors the brave, and I lost all my fucking money.
Boom. And we are live. Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of Metaverse Spotlight. I am Crafter, your host, and today I am joined by Peak from SIPHER. We're going to be talking about all things SIPHER Odyssey on this show. So if you aren't familiar with what SIPHER is doing in the gaming world, you're about to find out. And if you are familiar, hopefully we can get you some bits of alpha and stuff that maybe you haven't heard of yet that is happening now. So without further ado, thank you so much, Peak, for joining me on the show. Welcome in. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to have a chat. Sorry if I seem a bit drowsy. It's 4 a.m. where I am, but
I heard
I
heard you were gonna be showing up bright and early, which is awesome. I really appreciate you. And I mean, you don't look like you're tired, and it doesn't look like it's 4 a.m. So so if that's anything. You can take it and run with it, but I really do appreciate you hopping on at this time, and hopefully we can get some eyes from another side of the world onto what SIPHER is doing and see what all is going on here. I've been playing. I've played three different play sessions now.
Nice.
So I've been enjoying it. It's one of the there's so many Web3 games out there, or just games in general out there to play, and this one is one of those that did its trick. It has whatever it has, it's doing it right, because it's gotten me to think about it and want to play it again. A lot of games I play once and I'm like, oh, that was fun, and then I just move on and I never come back to it. But SIPHER really did hook me in and make me the very next day I was like, I need to play a little bit more of that. That was fun. So before we get too into the weeds, I think we should start by just allowing you to give a brief introduction about yourself and also about SIPHER and what SIPHER is all about, and then we will just take it from there. So if you want to start with that, and then we'll see where we go. Yeah.
So hi everyone. My name is Nia, but you can call me Peak. As you can see from I'm not sure if they can see the name tag. I think they can, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Peak_SIPHER. Yeah. So I'm the head of community, but also I'm in charge of the Web3 integration. So basically the gameplay, how it syncs with the marketplace, how it works with NFTs, how it works with the tokens. I handle that, as well as community, as well as just, like general gameplay direction, but more towards the Web3 side, making sure it all works, making sure it all plays together nicely, that kind of thing.
That's important. And SIPHER itself, how do you no, it's all good. How would you describe SIPHER to somebody that's new, has no idea what SIPHER is? How would you lay that out to somebody that's a gamer but doesn't know what SIPHER is?
Yeah, so SIPHER is the simplest way I can describe it is it's an amalgamation of a few different genres. So it's a roguelike with an ARPG influence, as well as a bit of a CCG influence. With, I would say that the ARPG influence is a bit heavier. I'll go a bit more specific. So roguelike, like things like Hades, right? So the idea is that every run you play, it's a bit different. Every time you play, your builds are a bit different. It's never exactly the same. And whereas the ARPG aspect is more about the the looter shooter. It's about the grind, right? You have to try and get your gear together. So the TLDR of our game is that the gear that you manage to farm up and the gear that you manage to put together influences the variable augments or boosts that you have within the game that changes your playstyle every time. So the eventual goal of the game is to have a wide roster that can be that can handle any kind of game mode, any kind of situation, right? So yeah, that's the
I like that.
TLDR of the game.
Yeah, no, that's perfect, and I appreciate that. And shout out everyone that's tuning in right now. I know we got a handful of y'all over on X. We got a few of you tuning in on YouTube. Decotia, Carl, welcome in. Extreme Arcader over on Twitch, and I'm sure there's other Twitchers as well out there. But what up, everybody? I can see all your comments coming in, so feel free to drop comments. And if you have any questions along the way, drop those in the chat as well, and I'll try to get to as many questions as I can for peak as we go along here. And for those of you that aren't familiar with SIPHER, SIPHER is a map-based action roguelite with a twist, as Peak just kind of described the TLDR. It has all kinds of different kind of mixed into it, which I think is super cool. To circle back to what you kind of talked about there, one thing I guess I'm still trying to figure out the game, and I'm playing on my PC, so I don't know if the PC is different than the mobile
Are you
stuff.
playing on the PC build or are you playing on BoostX?
I think it's the PC build. I know that it's not like
that makes sense.
Yeah, I know it's like not available out there. I'm not exactly sure how I got hooked up with it. Probably Maddie, or is that the right name? Marty.
Yeah.
Probably somehow got me connected with it. But so I've been playing on that, and I don't know if it is that the same. I should have downloaded on my mobile. I just don't do any mobile gaming, so I'll just use my PC.
I completely get you.
Yeah.
So to quickly take that point, it's exactly the same game, but I understand that we all have different preferred control methods, right? And I like the game, but I'm also not a big fan of like a touchscreen interface, especially for something that's so action intensive.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how I felt playing it. I was like with all the different buttons and stuff that I'm clicking on my keyboard and my mouse. I was like, I don't think I could do this on a touch screen. Like there's way too much going on. But then I say that, and then I see my 6-year-old nephew, and he can play any game under the moon on his iPad and no problem just using the touch screen. So it's definitely like generational. I grew up throughout all the gaming technology boom, and I played on pretty much every gaming console that there is. So like but I didn't really get an extensive time using touchscreens. So it's interesting to see kids that are just like total touchscreen native, and that's all they know how to use. And they pick up a controller and they're like, "What is this?"
I think you have a point there. Yeah, no, because I was just saying like maybe it's like a generational thing, right? Where like because some kids nowadays, I feel like they expect that if it's a screen, it's touch applicable. Whereas for us, that wasn't the case at all, right? Like it was screens first, and then touchscreen came after. So it became like it's like an afterthought to us, right? But for the younger people nowadays, it's an automatic. Okay, touchscreen, pinch to zoom, like all those things default and quick.
Yeah. No, it's interesting to see like those different like generational things, but it definitely has to just be generational more than anything. But so for this game, you kind of got into it, and I don't know if I played enough to even really realize it, but every game that you play is different as far as how like your skills go and stuff. Is that what you're saying, or what's like? Yeah, is that?
So have you played, for example, like Hades or something like that before?
Not Hades.
Oh, good you haven't. So basically, roguelike is a genre where it was popularized by indie games, and the reason I feel like it's popular with indie games is because the dev cost tends to be lower, And what it basically means is that, let's say there are 100 upgrades available for you in this game mode, right? The way roguelikes work is that as you play throughout the game, after you clear every level, you get offered 3 choices out of those 100.
Yep.
And
Okay.
then
I've experienced
that
that.
upgrade,
Yep.
yeah. So that upgrade determines how your build progresses and how your power level progresses, right? But because it's a different upgrade every time, so your build is different every time. Now that's a pure roguelike game, right? Like everything's random, like you start from the ground up. Whereas for us, we're like that, but we're a bit more focused. And the reason I say that is because of our gear system, right? So because of the gear you bring in, you influence the kind of upgrades that you're about to get. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're guaranteed to get those upgrades all the time, but you narrow that possibility down. And so let's say you put on a bunch of gear that gives you like fire upgrades, right? Like it gives you fire augments to your attack, right? So maybe your dash has fire damage now, maybe your melee has fire damage now. So those are the possible upgrades you can get in a run, but it's not necessarily guaranteed you will get those upgrades in a run, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, that does make sense. And like as you're talking through this, it might be the first roguelite I've played. I'm trying to like think. I've probably played here and there, just like dabbling, but nothing like hardcore. So the concept of do you call it augments? So at the end of each level, you choose your augments. So that concept is new to me. I feel like I've played it at some point, but I've played, like I said, I've played SIPHER a handful of times now, so I get that progression. So I think that's cool. I like that feature. And that's all random? So at the end of each level, it just randomly assigns you 3 things that you can pick from, and then you just have to just determine 1, 2, or 3, depending on the cost, which ones you want to add on to your build.
Exactly, yes.
Okay.
So it's like a trade-off decision, like, oh, do I want this, it's a bit more efficient, or do I want this, it's like a bigger power spike, right?
Yeah. No, that makes sense. So now I'm realizing more of how the game works as I've been playing it and just trying to figure it out. But so does this is one thing that's been, I'm gonna segue real hard over to the Web3 side of things, but does and I think you're the perfect person to talk to from the sounds of it with all this. So I'm gonna ask my question and then I feel like we're gonna have to backpedal, but does the character that you are using, it sounds like it determines the like augments that you can get delivered, and are those characters randomly created, and are those characters NFTs? I guess it's kind of that was like a weird way of asking that, but did you follow what I was trying to get at, kind of?
Yes.
Okay.
I will take them one at a time. So the characters do on some level influence the augments that you get. The reason is simply because, I'm going to be technical now, but in terms of the game design itself, there are a few things that decide what augments you get, right? So firstly, like I told you before, which we already established, was the gear, right? So your chest piece, your helmet, your gloves, etc., right? But another big part is the augments that are inherent in your character. So, and the reason for this is because it's like owning a character, right? You want to have that sense of attachment to it. You want to make it your own, right? So as you level your character up further and further, you can upgrade and tailor it to the way you want. So those characters then have augments of their own, which will be also put into the discovery pool for you to pick. And that, is part of the creation of the playstyle. And that character itself can definitely become NFTs, can be tradable. So within our game, all the gear, all of the characters, and all of the vessels here being the characters, all the stuff that influences playstyle and gameplay will be tradable in the in-game marketplace, but also be mintable and then tradable, like, in like typical Web3 marketplace.
Sure. Okay. Cool. So that, I guess that nicely leads us into kind of how you guys are approaching incorporating Web3 and blockchain technology, which for those of you that don't know, that's basically all I'm focused on at this point is Web3 blockchain technology incorporating games. So so no wonder I ended up finding yours, because and that's always like, at the end of the day, that's what I'm most interested in, is like how games are incorporating it. Because whenever I first found blockchain, specifically NFTs, it all like started to click in my head about how I thought games could start using this technology, and it's been interesting to see not only the ways that I immediately assumed, like skins and avatars and all that fun stuff, but then to also see the games being able to find new and unique ways of using the blockchain tech, and that's what's always fun to see. And I also like learning about how different games are approaching introducing it to their audience, because I think that's kind of a friction point that I mean, some gamers are very opposed to it for some reason, and other gamers are open to it. But either way, like it needs to be, in my opinion, easy is probably the most important part, and make sense. Like it needs to make sense. Like why am I using this new technology instead of just using the old one, kind of thing. So I'm very curious to hear some ways that you guys are approaching this. And it sounds like one is making it optional to turn anything into an NFT. But maybe it'd be easier, instead of me just trying to like find different things to ask about, if there's anything off the top of your head that you think you would be best to like explain, like how Web3 is getting incorporated into the game. We could start with that conversation, and then we'll just kind of see where we go from there.
For sure.
Perfect. And not to cut you off, but just a shout out, Daniel Palston does have a question that I will get to about the played airdrop that just got announced, I believe. But I've also been loving the game. So shout out, Daniel. I see your question. I got it earmarked, and we will get back to it in a second. And if anyone else has questions, feel free to drop those in the chat, and I will keep track of those and pull those up. So if you want to kind of just tackle the Web3 beast and how you guys are approaching it, and maybe some things that maybe you think you're doing differently, or whatever the case is there. And while you're doing that, there will be some video coming up on screen. I'm gonna just try and get some preview of the game itself on the screen while we're talking as well. So but you tackle that question, and I will work on that in the background.
Okay, so just to quickly discuss about, like blockchain uses, Web3 uses, et cetera, I think that there's a lot of eventual uses that are a lot more complex, like actual integration into the game modes, et cetera, right? But right now, if you actually think about how useful blockchain tech is as just basically as a transfer tool, right? You have to compare it to the existing available tech, right? Obviously, because I remember 2 years ago, people would always say stuff like, oh, like interoperability, like you could do this with the blockchain, like it's ownership, and what if so-and-so business fails and now you can still sell your items, right? Which, yes, technically is true, but it came at the cost of ridiculous stuff like, oh, you need to make a wallet, you need to have gas fees, and if there's a bunch of interactions at the same time, then the gas fee is more expensive, and like all this stuff, which you use the perfect word for it, which is very like friction heavy, right? Like you need to be able to cater for people that don't don't care, don't give a shit about any of this, right? Like, hey, I want to play my game. If you eventually let me sell it, sure, I don't care about that right now. And you need to compare it to yourself like a Steam, right? Like Steam lets you trade skins right now. Obviously, within their system, you can't really take it out, but it's pretty frictionless. It's pretty chill. It's pretty quick, right? So that's what you're competing with. So that's why for us, we've really focused on making the UI UX simple and basically like holding your hand to a point where you don't even need to. Actually, Marty, can you? Sorry, I'm just talking to one of my members in the chat. Can you help send Crafter a good link so he can have it on the background, like a good gameplay background reel?
I was trying to find some gameplay, and I was like, I'm not coming across it, but
It should, yeah. So we're going to announce that soon. Sorry, but back to the question. But so I think the ownership and the trading aspect is a big thing because I don't think games have really done like shared royalties in terms of like, yeah, they haven't really done shared royalties in a way that's cool and fun yet. Obviously, you have your like Dota 2, like okay, you can take a portion of the in-game revenue to give it to esports, which is great, which is fun if you like esports, right? But I think there could be more grassroots stuff where like, we give out smaller prize pools all throughout, and that's taken a cut from like royalties and in-game sending, that kind of thing.
I feel like in-game royalties and giving back to players is big and something that I guess I'm trying to think of like games that I've played in the past, and I can't think of any games until I started playing Web3 games that I've actually made any money from, as far as playing to play goes. So like I feel like that's just like a low hanging fruit that like obviously the company is making money and wants to make money to be sustainable and all that fun stuff, but then to be able to then have I think that's what the blockchain assists with, is that it makes it, one thing for sure, it makes it very transparent about what's going on, and you can see if there is a rule, let's just say 5% of all in-game transactions accrue a fee,
Exactly.
and that fee goes to a pool that is distributed to players for doing certain things. You can see all that happening on chain, and you know that it's happening, and you know how much is in the pool, and you know how much is going to get paid out, and like that's just like nice in my opinion to have that be transparent. And then to go, I guess, one step further into the blockchain tech, and then allowing not only people to play your game and trade gear or whatever vessels on the in-game marketplace, but then also be able to pull them out of the game and trade with them however else they want. I think that's the other thing that games are missing right now that I think blockchain fixes, is allowing like true ownership. Like you said, like Steam, you can trade skins on the Steam platform, or Fortnite, you can buy all these skins, but you can only use them inside of Fortnite. And like, so like that's where I see at least NFT technology really bridging the gap that is there right now, and allowing for more like easy asset ownership, where you really can, depending on other games, be able to bring an asset from one game to another game potentially. I think that all gets into the metaverse like interoperability weeds that is going to be interesting, and it'll take a long time to get all that hashed out. But I think we will see first, before like true interoperability happens, we will see a game like SIPHER collaborate with a game. I'm just trying to think of like Shrapnel. Shrapnel is another. It's a first-person shooter game, but they're both shooters, or they both have guns. So like I could see a collaboration happening where the SIPHER players could bring their gear from SIPHER into Shrapnel and vice versa. I think of that as a gamer and think that sounds awesome. I don't know how that feels as a person on a team for a game, and how all that works in the background. So I guess I'm curious, now that we're kind of talking about that subject, like, have you guys thought about the interoperability piece and how that would look, or is that kind of down the road that nothing?
No, so sorry if because it's a big discussion point, right? So if we keep talking, it's going to go like on and on. But on that point specifically, right? We've definitely taken a look at interoperability before, and I definitely agree that it's a potential, selling point, a potential strong point. The problem with that is, and I don't think we've reached this issue of, let me phrase this in a different way. I think that as we get, sorry, if I format my thoughts in a way that is coherent.
No, it's okay. So it is like right a complicated subject.
Yeah. So right now, the common user has not been okay with the fact that all items are tradable, right? This is not expected behavior. The skins that I buy in the majority of video games, I expect to stay there permanently, right? Like, I don't have an expectation that I can resell it. Obviously, if when there's a will, there's a way, right? Like, if I really wanted to, I could sell an account, right? If I really wanted to, I could sell this mobile game account to someone else, and that's basically kind of what it is right now, right? Like, oh, if I have a Clash of Clans account that I spent $5,000 on, I'm sure that you could sell it for some amount of money. How much, I don't know, but like it's heavy, it's friction heavy, like you said, and that's a bit tiring, right? Now, let's say, for example, that everything is perfectly frictionless. So let's say blockchain is now fully integrated, everything is sellable. Like nothing, like every game I finish playing, I could sell all the remaining assets off, right? So I fish with Clash of Clans, I sell all my characters. I fish with Cypher Odyssey, don't want to use my own game as an example, but I sell all my vessels and gears after the fact, right? So now the problem you have when this becomes the new norm is that, I'm saying the obvious here, right? But digital items don't depreciate. They don't go away. Like, an item in Cypher Odyssey right now will be that exact same item 10 years from now, no differences, functioning exactly the same as before, given that the game still runs, right?
Right.
So you end up running into this issue of, like, basically not bloat, but basically inflation, right? Like, so
Sure.
as a new user, because all these old users are now selling their old stuff back to me, like, what incentive is there for me to buy the hottest deals that the developer wants me to buy, right? Because I could buy an old deal from an old user at a discounted price, right? And this is only within one game. So bringing back to the whole interoperability thing, so the reason why I went on this whole long ass tangent is basically the biggest problem I have with cross-developer interoperability of NFTs is that you have now given the new developer the burden of a new inflation source that wasn't theirs to begin with and isn't theirs to control. So the example that I'm going to give here is that, let's say, we do want to work with Shrapnel. Like, I know Shrapnel. I love that team.
Yeah.
So, but let's say we do want to work with them and we want to partner with them and put Cypher weapons into Shrapnel, right? Let's say all the development work is done already. All of that is frictionless, and the games and the weapons can be in Shrapnel. So suddenly now the Shrapnel devs are like, okay, now I have weapons from other games, the supply I don't control, coming into my game, affecting my players, and I have to balance around, like, this new supply that I don't control, that can fluctuate up and down completely out of my control, and it could affect my bottom line because it could affect my skins, it could affect my weapon sales, it could affect my balance, it could affect my meta, right?
Yeah.
So all that is to say that I think that at least for the near future, until like some kind of agreement is formed, interoperability will most likely be a intra publisher, intra developer kind of thing, right? So let's say within Blizzard games, within Riot games, because then at least you control the valve on the other end, and you can control how much you bring it on, right? And that's if you're talking really deep interoperability. You always have the option of having interoperability of, like, very surface level, like, hey, your skin, your gun in my game changed to my skin, but I still control the balance. I expect that is the majority of collaborations in the future, right? Like, that kind of, like, I think visual is easy because cosmetic doesn't change balance. There's no gameplay. So I think cosmetic is definitely the route for at least the next 5-10 years, until we've really locked down a way to, like, okay, your items can be used in my game, and here's how we do it in a way that works for both of us and benefits both of us.
For sure. I'm very glad that we got to this point in the conversation, and I appreciate that answer, because I hadn't really heard it answered in that particular way, and I think you answered it in a great way, by the way, and it's eye-opening to me. It's something that I hadn't, like, super thought about. I do understand, like, the balancing and how interoperability throws a wrench into that, because you have to account for potentially, if everything was 100% interoperable, you'd have to account for literally infinite possibilities, which would be a nightmare. I would imagine. And like now, like as I'm like thinking down this like balancing rabbit hole, like I don't even know where to start with just like one collaboration potential, like with you guys in Shrapnel. Like this is strictly hypothetical. It was just the first game that popped in my head. But like with you and Shrapnel, allowing, I mean, you nailed it. Like allowing guns to go from one to the other. Now that's like a new valve that you have to worry about and account for in your balancing and vice versa. And I do see where like at the end of your spiel there, you got to that it's probably going to be cosmetics. And honestly, I don't know if that's a bad thing, because at the end of the day, a lot of the value that gamers get from in-game purchases is looking cool, right? Like, because most gamers don't like games that you can pay to win, right? Like that's pretty at least I think it's obvious. That in my opinion, it should be obvious that you don't like to have somebody that can just come in and spend $1,000 and be the best player in the game. Like you want players that are actually playing the game and figuring out how to play to be the good players. And everyone else can look cool if they want, but they may not be as good at the game. So I definitely see a future where like you're saying, like cosmetic skins are interoperable way before we get to a point where they would be more than just cosmetic interoperability. Do you think that now that we're on the subject, we might end up here for a second, but now because interoperability is something that I just think about all since I got into this space, and I'm always thinking about it. Do you think that, in your opinion, what would be the use case or reason that developers would want to go beyond cosmetics for interoperability? Like what would be the benefit? I guess what would be the benefit for a developer to say, yeah, like we should be completely interoperable and allow anything to come in?
Yeah. So I think because we've definitely looked at this internally, right? The problem with interoperability and why I think the implementation will be slow is there is a breakdown of incentives. What I mean by that is if I as the game developer give interoperability to another asset class, right, an NFT collection, a partner game, I'm doing the majority of the work, right? Obviously, I would need to get the assets from the other game, but like I need to integrate it to my game, right?
Yep.
So, what is the benefit that I'm getting when I'm taking on this new supply of stuff into my game, into my game economy, right? And there has to be a benefit there for it to be a thing that reliably happens in the future, right? So it could be that I see that, oh, this game has a very active player base and they really like to spend, right? And I would love that player base to come into my game. Then I would look into giving that asset class, interaction with my game, right? But what's happening here is the owner of that collection or that other asset class is now benefiting because their users like, oh, like my stuff has more use cases, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it always becomes this like, oh, like sure, you could give interoperability, or you could just like push for your own content to bring those players in through a different way. So that's the issue that I think makes interoperability a bit harder in the future, and that's why I said will most likely be between games that are in the same parent company, because then the incentives and it's all aligned, right? Like I benefit, you benefit, parent company benefits.
Right. Yeah. That I mean that makes a lot of sense, and I think that's why the interoperability discussion is just so sticky. Is that there's so many layers to it too.
And I think also it stopped being like the hyped word that it was a few years ago. I feel like back then it was like, oh, it's the word that everyone used to like, it was like the hot word,
Yeah.
But as people looked into actually being interoperable, it's kind of faded out of the limelight. Sorry. Also, Marty did tell me that he did send you a link for like a gameplay reel if you do want to put that
Oh
up.
yes, I think I just found it on Twitter. Actually, I didn't know where he was sending it, but I found it, and I do want to pull it up. Maybe we just do that right now. So let's take how long is this? A 30-second break. And I want to throw some gameplay out there. We should have started with this now that I think about it, but whatever.
We should have, yes, but we got too into talking.
Maybe I can splice up the replay, and we'll drop another replay with the gameplay in the beginning, so it hooks people in. But for those of you that are tuning in right now, I'm going to add this to the stage and make it big screen and rewind it and play. And this is a quick little peek 30-second clip of gameplay for SIPHER. So check it out, y'all. Perfect. That's definitely what we should have started out with, but it's all good. We got it out there now. So I'm gonna switch back to just us here for a sec. Boom. And one thing that popped in my head just from watching that clip is, so with SIPHER, currently it's available for anyone to download on mobile on mobile. So Android or Apple, anyone can download it. Is that true?
Small caveat is that because of publishing and the way that works in Google Play Store, we're only officially live in 9 countries. During the Play to Airdrop, anyone on an Android phone can download an APK. Unfortunately for iPhone, if you're an iPhone holder and you want to join the Play to Airdrop, you might have to do a little, like, you might have to like make an account and like a region with the download. But we will have a detailed guide on that on our Discord if you're so inclined. But you're US based, right? No, you're Europe based, right?
I'm US, yes. Yeah.
Oh, US based.
Majority of my viewers are US or Europe.
Then US is easy. US just download straight.
Okay.
There's a whole fun discussion about like the countries and the different phones. I could talk about that if we get to there. But yeah, so basically that it's on the mobile. It's on the App Store. If you're in the US, no problem, download it right away. If you really want to play on PC and you don't have that the hookup like Crafter does, then you can get BlueStacks, and we've made sure that it works well on BlueStacks. You can emulate it on your PC, runs good, no problem there.
Nice. I really enjoy playing it on PC. I think a lot of people will enjoy playing it on PC. Yeah. We were talking earlier that it's obviously just a player preference and what you grew up on more likely than anything. But playing it on PC has been a lot of fun. One thing that I saw in the preview, and now I'm curious about, I didn't even think about this, but is the PC build that I'm playing on, does that allow me to play multiplayer with other like people playing on mobile, or is it only for PC players? Yes. Okay, so it is like multi-platform. Yeah. Okay,
we're nowhere near big enough to worry about like different, like that would screw us.
Yeah,
if we had to like separate the player bases.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I was just thinking, and probably more so timing more for me than anything, is that I've hopped on like 3 times and it's always just been me playing the game. And I saw in the replay, I was like, oh, it would be really fun if there's other people running around shooting at things with me. So yeah, I could see that being fun. And for those of you that aren't familiar with SIPHER, it might be, and I don't know, you probably know the numbers behind this more than me. Is it a regional thing that like, have you not tapped into the US audience base much? Or because like it just started coming on my radar, and I don't know how long have you guys been developing, I guess is a good question.
3 years.
Okay.
So we've been developing like for a long time. So I think that's part of the luck that we've had was that we managed to secure enough runway, like from our initial mints way back when, and we've been able to focus on development without having to worry about, like staying active, being prevalent in the public eye, because I think that like those gives you different incentives and like it misaligns and it doesn't allow you to develop your game into the quality that you would like.
Right.
In terms of tapping into the markets, to be honest, like we have not tapped into any. Like the play to airdrop it's a thing that we're doing, but we haven't pushed any marketing at all, and all of the numbers so far that we have are just all organic marketing for the sole purpose of so right now we're still testing the game, right? Like we're still always testing the game. So right now we're still officially in open alpha, right? Like alpha, and then there's still the beta, and then there's global launch, right?
Yep.
So we've not tapped anything at all. Any users that we're lucky to have, then we look at the retention rates, et cetera, and we hope to begin, user acquisition and the strong push towards around July, because that's when our targeted global launch is.
Okay. Nice. So yeah, so we're in open alpha right now. Global launch is earmarked for July.
Yes, and that is truly global. So live in all mobile stores. Like I won't have to tell you to go to BlueStacks. You can just download. You can just download on the App Store, right? Wherever you are.
Okay.
I don't think the PC build will be live by then. Just as a matter, like I won't, because it depends. But
yeah,
when global launch is live, no matter where you are, if you have Android or Apple, you'll be able to get it.
Okay, nice. That's awesome. And since you brought it up, I think it's a good thing to transition over to. And I'm gonna share my screen for this because I had that graphic pulled up. Let's talk a little bit about the plate airdrop that apparently is going on right now. I saw this tweet today, and looks like plate airdrop phase 1 starts now. First 10,000 ciphers to join get 5,000 bonus points. And so social quests are going on right now, and there's a link there for y'all. I'll drop this tweet in the Twitch and YouTube chat channels. And also, what up, Taj? Welcome in, homie. So play to airdrop. Tell us whatever's important for us to hear about play to airdrop. What's all going on with that?
Oh, thank you. It's my time to shine, to run through the whole talking points, right? No, I'm kidding. So we've been very fortunate enough to develop a product because I've always said that we develop for Web 2 first, right? We've never been like, we're only developing for Web 2 only. So, sorry, we're only developing Web 3 only. So for the play the airdrop, we're in phase 1 right now. And what that means is that this is only the social quest, right? So if you are a true degen and you want to maximize your points, right, then you join the program, you like and retweet, you do all those quests and you earn points. So that's the phase 1 right now. The gameplay of the play to airdrop is going live very soon. And when that is live, all I ask is you play the game and you enjoy the game. And it really is that simple. Obviously, if you want to optimize for how to maximize your points, then we do have guides on that. We do have guides on, you need to level up your characters. You need to go deeper in the world level. You need to play in the multiplayer mode. You need to do all that, right? But without intimidating you guys, that is literally all part of the base game. Like if you just played the game and you liked it and you did everything that is available to you in the game, I would guarantee that you would basically be doing 80 to 90% of all the quests that we've given you within the game.
Heck yeah.
And the game is live. And the game is live right now. So you could start right now, and all your progress will carry forward to global launch. Nothing is reset. Like your progress will keep with you if you keep playing our game. And so the official daily quests aren't beginning yet. But if you want to get a head start on all the unlocks and all the milestone points within the game, you can start playing now. And that's all I ask. Download the game, try out the game. If you like it, stick around.
Heck yeah. No, that's in my opinion, I've seen all kinds of different airdrops go on over the last 6 months already. Well, more than that, but the last 6 months have been kind of the heavy gaming airdrops that have been going on, and the ones that at least that I've like enjoyed and participating in are the ones that you just show up and play the game. There's nothing complicated. You don't have to like go and find what exactly I need to do on each and every different day. It's just show up, play the game, complete the quests if there are quests or whatever that pop up in the game, ideally, and that's it. And you participated and you get rewarded with some sort of airdrop eventually. Is the airdrop is going to be for the is it Aether or Aether? Aether. So for the Aether token, and the Aether token is the ecosystem token, right? So like not only SIPHER Odyssey, but other games eventually will also be utilizing the token. Is that the idea?
That is correct. So I can give you a bit of a quick history lesson. So we have a token live right now, the SIPHER token. So we launched it like 2 and 3 years ago. So the SIPHER token was originally meant to be in-game uses, right? Like for within the use of the SIPHER game. Now, the thing that we realized was that throughout the development of the game, we did more than just one game, right? So we have other projects coming out at the same time and other initiatives coming out at the same time. So we realized that the SIPHER token does not work so well because it was only intended to be the one game, right? Mm-hmm. So that's why we're launching the new token. But all holders of the old SIPHER token get grandfathered into the new token with no dilution at all. Nice. And actually, as part of the Play the Airdrop quest, holders of the old token get like bonus points in the campaign, right? So we reward the holders basically. If you hold NFTs or if you hold tokens and you play the game, you get bonus points on what you're doing, obviously. So you don't need to. For those of us that you don't need to look into like buying just yet. Like try out the game first, and if you like it, then look a bit deeper into NFTs, token, etc. And my Discord is like the official SIPHER Discord is super helpful for that.
Heck yeah. And yeah, Discord always seems to be the best place if you do have questions. And I preach this all the time, but get on the socials or in the Discords if they have one, and get in there and ask questions. Most teams are very welcoming and open to questions and answers. So feel free to get in there. And SIPHER, obviously, like pretty much anyone that I have on my show is open to with people because that's how they get on my show. And I appreciate you for coming on. And I think I want to touch on for sure one more thing, and I want to mention if anyone's listening, I know people are listening. If anyone that is listening wants to ask any questions, you can drop those in the chat. I can see your chats from Twitter, X, Twitch, YouTube. I get them all. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop those in the chat. I got a couple questions that have come in throughout this conversation earmarked for us to go over. And if there's any more that come in through that, I will make sure to keep track of those and ask them. My last thing that I for sure want to touch on, and you mentioned it earlier, and I guess this is going to be a two-part question because I'm just curious about the first part. It doesn't really matter to me either way, but are you guys self-funded, or did you get investments from VCs and stuff? Because I know you mentioned that you've had a long runway because the original mint. So I guess that's what caught my ear. So is it all from the original mint, or is there other funding as well?
There were a few, but basically we had 2 mints, and then we also launched a token, as well as we had a round for a VC funding in token.
Okay, perfect. So everything, which I mean is good. I want you guys to have enough money to do what you need to do to make it into an awesome game. So that's how money is made and generated as a company. So that's awesome. And then I guess the second part of that question is then going to be what are the I haven't looked into this. So what are the NFTs that are available out there? What do they have like in-game perks or anything like that,
Yes.
or what would
Yes.
lure people into wanting to have an NFT from Cypher?
Yeah. Marty, can you send Crafter the image of NFT Genesis benefits? So we have like a whole key visual hero image for this, but
Perfect.
as I ramble through this discussion point, Marty will send you the link so you can put it up on screen if you want to. But basically,
Got it.
Genesis NFTs are usable in game, and they are like, it's not pay to win, but they are essentially the top end of characters within the game. Now, we have, and aside from that, we also will give our Genesis NFTs what we would call ecosystem benefits, right? Because they've been our longtime supporter, and we find that giving them ecosystem benefits is a better way to balance the game itself. Because if you give them all in-game benefits, then you run into this whole issue of like, pay to win, et cetera, et cetera. So one of the biggest benefits that we have for the Genesis NFTs is that if you're a holder of Genesis NFTs, you get like automatic points without even playing the game for the Play to Airdrop campaign. That's one. And then on top of that, you get the modifier. So if you hold NFTs, it gives you bonus points and gives you even more points on top of that if you really want to get into this Play to Airdrop. And then aside from that, all of our upcoming initiatives. So we have an AI product, I think that was announced recently. I don't want to get like that. That's going to detract the whole conversation, but we have other products coming out in the future, and our Genesis NFTs will be grandfathered in to have a bonus for all of those products moving forward.
Beautiful. I think that's the best way to handle Genesis NFTs, is to just really give as much as you can afford to give back to the people that really supported you in the beginning or decided to buy one afterwards, and see the vision now, kind of thing. So
I could go on a bit of a mini tangent here on like Genesis NFTs and feature development, right? So during the whole development process, like I can tell from a lot of our big holders, and like they felt like we were being stingy, like they don't want to give any benefits to Genesis NFTs, right? Because they don't want to give us like monetary benefits or whatever, right? And the funny thing is, that's not the reason why. The main reason why is almost entirely a UI UX cost. Like we've minted 2 collections, 10,000 each, right? So there's only 10,000 Genesis NFTs. If we make any feature that is Genesis NFT only, we are putting dev hours into features that can only ever be used by 20,000 people maximum, and that's just not a good return on investment for us, right? So so people are like, why can't you do it so where only Genesis NFTs can do this, right? Which sounds great on paper. Only Genesis NFTs can do X feature, right? But then you're like, okay, you're making a whole UI UX screen, you're like doing all this debug QA testing only for 10,000 people to use it.
Right.
Which is why we've moved into like giving, ecosystem wide benefits, because that's easier for us to code, because usually it's like a bonus on top, and it's not UI UX intensive like game features are. Yeah, that's the whole background on that.
That makes sense, and I feel like that's a lot of times when you get a Genesis NFT out there, that is kind of like the thought process of the holders is, I have this Genesis NFT. That means I get to do things that nobody else gets to do.
Yes.
And
that's completely fair. Like I don't want to come off like I'm like bashing my Genesis holders. It's completely fair, because you bought the NFT like when it was nothing, right? Like when we launched NFTs, no one knew that we were gonna make a game like this game, right? We could have just disappeared after 1 month, right? So they harbored that risk. So I completely understand why they have that expectation of like, I would love to be able to do this, and I would love to give it to you. It's just not feasible from a development standpoint, and why we have to pivot to giving you other stuff that is not so cost intensive in terms of development.
Yeah, no, and that makes a whole lot of sense, especially when you explain it that way. And I imagine you guys do a good job of that explanation out to your holders, and I would hope that they at least are open to hearing that explanation. And I'm sure you have a mixed bag of people. Some people are like, oh yeah, that makes total sense, and other people are like, that's stupid, we should get everything. And and everything normal in between, but that's normal. And exactly. So but I mean, there's a lot of pretty good benefits here that I'm seeing on this list that we have pulled up for Genesis NFT holders just right off the bat. So I don't know. If I were you and I were playing this game and enjoying it, it wouldn't be a bad idea to at least look into these Genesis NFTs, because I think you will get rewarded pretty awesomely into the future. Especially like my go-to with gaming NFTs specifically is I play the games for a while and I decide if I like them. One, that's the most important deciding factor for me, is if I like them. And then two, like, is there a lot of traction around them, around the game, and are people other than myself playing it and enjoying it? And if those two boxes get checked, then I start looking into, well, what's the like highest tier NFT, what's going to get me the most perks, and typically that's going to be your Genesis NFT, whatever that is in that gaming ecosystem's collection. And like you can see here, you're going to get the multiplier for the airdrop and additional airdrop points. Game 2, which I don't know what that means. So that just means like the next game that you guys are developing.
Yes. So all future games, Justice NFTs will have benefit there for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. Lifetime eligibility to win Aether from competitions, free loot boxes. Everyone loves a loot box, and especially when it's free. Stronger characters, high tier Genesis equipment. So lots of different perks that if you're playing the game, you're going to enjoy the benefits that you get from this. So that's, and obviously, like, at the end of the day, you gotta love the game, and you gotta love or enjoy playing the game before you're going to put, I don't know how much you guys' NFTs are, but sometimes you see prices out there that you're just like, whoa, I don't know if I've ever spent that much on my entire life of gaming. But yeah,
honestly, I wish everyone had your same mindset of like, let me play the game first and buy it after.
Yeah. That's definitely not the common mindset, at least when you get into the DGen world. But yeah, I don't know. It sounds like you guys are doing a lot of things the way that I like to see them done. So I love that. And just trying to keep track of everything. Okay, so we're coming up right on that hour mark, and that's when I like to shift over to any questions that we got from viewers. And to be respectful of your time, I mean, you have all day, I guess, but
honestly, I'm gonna go back to sleep after this.
I was gonna. Okay, good, because it's crazy. I think this might be the earliest I've ever had somebody show up for a podcast. 4 a.m. is quite early, so I really appreciate you coming on and sharing this information. And I think it's been a great conversation so far. We went over a lot of really interesting things that I wasn't aware of that SIPHER was working on, and we dug into a lot of the Web3 stuff that you guys are doing, which I think is usually what I'm most interested in. But let me go to the chat here and pull up. We have a handful of questions. The first one is going to be, so as the play to airdrop is just around the corner or just started, are there a big update coming in the game? Okay, so is there an update in the game coming that people can look forward to with the play to airdrop?
So specifically for the play to airdrop, there's no new content, but we take a look at the game like a normal Web2 game, right? So we have patches inbound, like we have a whole new world in development, we have a whole new character in development. So that's going to be, so you can definitely try those out during global launch. So, and right after the play to airdrop, so we're thinking from a seasonal point of view, right? So play to airdrop season 1, which is this season, is much more friendly to, hey, anyone can come play, anyone can win, right? Anyone can come play, and if you play the game, you'll get a bit, right? You get something.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when we go to season 2, I think we're going to move to a much more competitive model, right? Like not so much like, I wouldn't call it esports, but like, hey, you need to be able to differentiate yourself from your average Joe playing the game, right?
Right.
Yeah. So that's going to be, and with a big part of that is we're going to be having our guilds feature live for global launch. So there's going to be stuff like co-op with your guild members, killing raid bosses with killing guild bosses with your guild members, all that kind of stuff.
Sweet. And since we're speaking about guilds and stuff, and this just popped in my head, as far as like guilds go, and more so, I guess, let's start with the multiplayer. How many people will be able to play at one time in a
For the
dungeon?
guild mode?
Well,
it's three.
it's 3. Okay.
Yep.
And then when the guilds get introduced, will there be like new features with the guild outside of what people are familiar with? Okay. So
there's going to be a lot of fun stuff. There's going to be like guild. There's going to be like guild talent trees, guild game modes. To really, actually, I don't want to say too much because like my game dev team's gonna get upset at me if I like give a feature and then they walk that feature back.
yeah. No, I get it. But cool. So there's more to look forward to once the guilds
there will always be more to look forward
get
to.
rolled out. Awesome. And I mean, that's why we love video games, is I feel like there's always more to look forward to. There's always something new that's getting added in that gets people excited. So so that's awesome. Let me see. I lost my account. There we go. I got two more questions for you, unless new stuff comes in, and then we can let you get back to bed for a little bit before you have to start your official day. So do you have a main competitor in the gaming industry, specifically Web3, but maybe outside of Web3? Is there somebody that you look at as a competitor in this lane, or I don't know? That's the question.
Luckily, no. So luckily not, because one, like I think genre-wise, we don't really have a genre clash with Web3 yet. Like you mentioned Shrapnel, right? Like I don't think your average Shrapnel player is going to be my average Cypher Odyssey player, right? I'm sure there's some overlap, right? Some people play everything. Like I play everything.
Right. But I play. That's me. I play everything not very well. So, but that's what I enjoy. But So okay. So the one, I guess, to just throw this out there because it popped in my head. I haven't played it. I know there's at least a playable demo out there. I don't know what they're doing exactly, but are you familiar with Wanderers?
I am, but I don't think they were. I don't think they're. I think they're more of like a. What was the exact gameplay? Because I thought it was like a single player kind of game, right? Or is it like a?
I don't know. It's so hard to keep track of everything. I could have made it up that they're a roguelite, but I feel like the gameplay that I've seen has looked similar. Not like graphically, but like same like concept of the game. Where you're working through like a dungeon and killing things, but I don't know. I'm trying to find them on Twitter right now, but doesn't really super matter. I can't find them, but they might be a roguelite.
It's all good. To answer your question from before, when we look at game competition and game references, like, because obviously within a game studio, we always look at like, oh my god, look at what these people are doing, look at what these people are doing, right? So in terms of gameplay stuff, we only ever look at Web 2 for that camp. Like, hey, look at what this Web 2 studio is doing, because that tends to be the better references, right? Just because they're much more product focused. But we still keep we always take inspiration from like, oh my god, these guys did a really cool mint, these guys did a really cool integration. So we look at Web 3 projects for their like Web 3 integration, FT integration. But if you're talking about like gameplay, like UI UX, how do they display the health bars, that kind of thing, then we look at Web 2 exclusively.
That makes a whole lot of sense to me. That's where everyone really looks, right? Is Web 2. There's not a Web 3 game that anyone looks at as like the gold standard of anything yet.
Unfortunately, not yet.
Not yet.
Hopefully
anyways, I was gonna say there's definitely a handful of games that are on my radar that I'm like, these guys are building the real game. Like it's not just a roadmap and a really shitty tutorial trial and that's it. That's immediate. That's why I reached out to you guys fairly quickly, is because I played the game the first go around, and I was like, oh, that was fun, and it seems like a full game. Like I don't. Obviously, we discovered this earlier. I'm not super familiar with the roguelite genre, but I was like, this is fun, and it feels like I'm playing an entire game, and this is this is what you would be doing in it. And so I was like, I need to talk to these guys more, because obviously they've been working on this for a while and they have a full-fledged product that's ready to ship. I'm glad we got you on and talking about what's going on, because I do think that more people need to know what you guys are up to, especially because I like the approach you guys are taking with it feels like you're very much like approaching it as a Web 2 product, a game product, and then just injecting Web 3 technology in where it's needed, and not really overdoing it and doing more than is needed, and making it more complicated and less fun. So I like the strategy that you guys are using and the direction you're going. The last question was another question that was actually interesting enough, also to kind of talking about your competitors. But the last portion of the question was, is there discussion on how to become the best Web3 game out there? So I imagine that would be at least a goal for you guys, is to become the best. Might not shoot for the stars. So I guess maybe to narrow that question in a little bit, what do you guys look at that you think is going to set yourself apart in the Web3 world, that is going to be different than what we've already seen, I guess?
Honestly, I think it's that we treat the product like it's a Web 2 product. It's like, if you're talking about sustainability of the product, of the game. Oh, did I crash? 1 second. You're frozen for me, and I'm not sure if you crashed out or I crashed out. So I'm just going to sit here and wait. Okay, so you can still hear me. I don't hear him. Okay, so he froze. Okay, so while he fixes his computer / tech issues, I will answer that question. Basically, we look at the product as a Web 2 product, right? We look at it like, how do we get players to come play the game? How do we get players to continue to spend money on the game? And how do we get players to stay with us and to retain with us, right? And I think for a Web3 game to be successful at all, you need to have that organic source of players who's there to spend money on the game and to have fun, right? And I don't think Web3 games has gotten there yet. I feel like 95% of Web3 games, the spending in Web3 is for future profits. And we need to get away from that to have a quote unquote best Web3 product, right? That's what we believe. So, we're hoping that the game will be a hit. We're hoping the game will do well, and yeah, it'll stick with people. While he fixes, I guess it's my show now. Look at me, I'm the host now. But I mean, I could take a few more questions while we're waiting for Crafter to resolve. But so luckily, the aggregate that he's using, I could see both Twitch and YouTube comments, so it's quite nice. But just in case it doesn't come back, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's tuning in, and also a shout out to any of my community members who are watching. A big reason why I took this was to accommodate people from a different time zone, right? Because I'm usually always on the Asian time zone, and I'm getting news that Crafter can't come back, which is unfortunate. But to wrap up, if the stream is live, if people are still watching, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you guys so much for following the project. If you like what you see so far, come to the Discord, download the game, try it out first, and if you like it, then look into getting Genesis NFTs or token for the Play to Airdrop. Otherwise, definitely participate in this phase 1 of the Play the Airdrop campaign. I think that's very simple. That's very straightforward. It's just social quests, easy to do. And when the phase 2 eventually launches, you guys can play the game. And yeah, so thank you for having me. Hello to any US viewers there. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day. I forgot. Twitter at playcypher.com and discord.com/playcypher. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.